Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where we're going to take a look at the Imperial Knights detachment. Long forgotten by, well, not everyone, because I'm pretty sure that the Knights players were waiting for their codex. But this should have probably been out 4, maybe even 5 months ago. It's been announced for a long time, and then it disappeared, then it reappeared. Chaos Knights have had their codex for a little while now, and while I think the Imperial Knights index initially was received quite well when they got their revamp, they've taken some hits. So it's probably about time that they got some more detachments and some other ways of playing the army, just to freshen them up as we're well within that final year of 10th edition now, aren't we? But isn't it nice to have a bit of 40k stuff? Anyway, we're going to take a look at this one. This is Imperial Knights Detachments. Quest forever to defend the Heartland. Night worlds are insular domains that stick to their ancestral teachings and the faded trappings of chivalry. So their battle plans tend to involve lots of stomping forwards and swinging chainswords. And not much else. Luckily, the upcoming Codex Imperial Knights is more imaginative than your average feudal lord and contains 4 markedly different detachments to test your mettle. Confirmation there that we're getting 4 detachments for this one. It's not quite as many, but they are quite a small model range, so you probably can't do a huge amount of difference with them. Hopefully each of these will play quite well and it will suit different people's playstyles, but we'll find out, won't we? You'll be swearing oaths on the code chivalric. These are a good bit more flexible this time, letting you choose the deed and quality separately. You can also get an extra option for each, and if you randomly determine your oath, you will get the full 3 command point reward when it's fulfilled. So the Knights thing was you swear an oath and then you get command points if you succeed. I don't know their index. Knights, Chaos Knights isn't really a faction that I'm interested in. I've never looked at their rules. Knights players, as we're going through this, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully this is going to give you more ways to play, and it is an improvement on what you already have. Before we go on, let's just take a quick look at that star. So you even get to pick which character is the tyrant you're targeting, rather than sticking to the warlord. Okay, so you get some choice in targets and how you can actually fulfill these oaths, which is good. So we have deed column and then a quality column, but it does sound like you can select which one you want, or if you do go random, you just get more rewards. But deeds, so on a 1 or a 2 on the d6, we vow to lay low the tyrant. At the start of the battle, select 1 character model in your opponent's army. This deed is completed at the end of a turn if that character is destroyed. On a 3 or 4 on that d6 roll, we swear to reclaim the realm. This deed is completed at the end of your opponent's turn if you control more objectives than your opponent. I mean, both of these sound quite doable so far. Actually, Knights, the limited model count, maybe not going to be holding that many objectives. And then finally, on a 5 or 6 of that d6 roll, we pledge to reap the great tally. This deed is completed at the end of the turn if a number of destroyed enemy units is greater than the battle round number, even if those units are subsequently returned to the battlefield. Example, 2 destroyed enemy units in the first battle round. That's an interesting one. I quite like that actually, meaning you're going to have to go and kill things, but definitely doable. And then the quality side of this. Again, it's all on d6, so on a 1 to 2, with our martial valor risen overall. Each time this model is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 hit, and you can reroll 1 wound roll. On the 3 or 4 of that d6 roll, and we are eager for the challenge, add 2 inches to the model's move characteristic and add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for this model. It's not terrible. And finally, on a 5 or a 6, yet shall our legacy be unsullied. Improve this model's objective control characteristic by 2 and its leadership characteristic by 1. Again, not terrible things there. So you pick your deed and you pick your quality. If you are specializing in maybe just picking the first one, so we lay low the tyrant, rerolling hits and wounds isn't going to be a bad choice, but then also extra to advance and charge could be good as well. Nice extra movement. You can see there's some link up with a couple of objective based ones there as well. Some interesting choices, and maybe not necessarily fixed into taking one with the other one. You can probably mix and match and get some nice results. If fulfilling these oaths sounds like a right lark, you'll love the Questorus Companions detachment, which lets you do it over and again throughout a game. Normal Imperial Knights are content to call it a day after one oath, but your Heroes of Legend will swear another one on the spot and add its bonuses to the pile. So detachment rule, Heroes of Legend. At the start of your turn, if your current oath is fulfilled, determine an additional oath as described on page 74, with the exception that you cannot select a deed or quality you have already selected. If you are randomly selecting the deed and or quality, and roll any result that you have already selected, select a deed or quality that you have not already selected instead. If you cannot determine an additional oath because you've already selected each deed and each quality, do not determine an additional oath. I guess that makes sense. That's their special rule, but if you're only ever going to get a chance to do one normally in different detachments, getting the extra 2 and the bonuses that come with it is always a nice thing. The qualities from oaths you have continue to apply to all models in your army with the Code Chivalric ability. When the deed for an additional oath is completed, you instead gain 1 CP regardless of how you select the deed or quality. So there is a couple of limitations in there. Obviously, army rules and abilities. The bigger knights are probably all going to have Code Chivalric. Potentially only characters. Don't think we actually find out in this article. But with the deeds, you can't just constantly farm command points. You're fixed in how many you can do. You've just got those 3 to choose from by the looks of it. And you are restricted on whatever quality it is. You only get that 1 CP after you've completed the first. The constant push to renew their oaths is reflected in the enhancements, and each offers a powerful one-use ability that's restored whenever you successfully fulfill one of your deeds, making a Knight Gallant with the Pennant of Silvered Fury sustain hits 2 on its 18 attack sweep profile, which already has lethal hits. That's a lot. I mean, it's a big robot, it should, but that's a lot. It's guaranteed to cause carnage, while a good blast of its warhorn makes everyone around the Herald of Triumph quake with fear. So those enhancements there, Herald of Triumph, Imperial Knights model only. When the bearer ends a charge move, it can use this enhancement. If it does, this enhancement is expended, then each enemy unit within engagement range of the bearer must take a battle shock test, subtracting 1 from the result. I have never liked enhancements that are a single use. And your single use enhancement being something that just means enemies take a battle shock, that's not that exciting, is it? The other one that we have here, the Pennant of Silvered Fury, Imperial Knights model only. When the bearer is selected to fight, it can use this enhancement. If it does, this enhancement is expended until the end of the phase. Melee weapons equipped by the bearer have the Sustained Hits 2 ability. Still a single use, still not a massive fan, but as an ability giving you Sustained Hits 2 on an 18 attack sweep, that is quite juicy, isn't it? That's much more interesting than Battle Shock, to be honest. The stratagems are all about charging your knights deep into the enemy ranks. Hero's Tread lets you leave an objective unattended, safe in the knowledge that the odd sneaky character or small unit won't wrestle it away in your absence. Opponents won't even be able to gum up your gears by throwing hordes of disposable wretches in your way, as Moment of Glory and Unstoppable Warrior let you surge on through their lines, whether you wipe out your foe or not. That's the kind of abilities that I want to see with armies like this. It's something that they brought in with Age of Sigmar. Certain of the bigger units, cavalry units, big strong units, things like that, could just push through an enemy that they were fighting, get to the other side, maybe engage someone else. That kind of rule, it completely fits Knights, so it's nice to see it here. Let's take a look at these stratagems. Hero's Tread is an epic deed stratagem for 1 CP. When, end of your command phase, target 1 Imperial Knights Titanic model from your army that is within range of an objective marker you control. Effect, your level of control over that objective marker is 5, unless it would otherwise be higher, until your opponent's level of control over that objective marker is greater than yours at the end of a phase. So it sets your level of control, your OC, at 5, unless it's higher for that model, and it's basically sticky objectives with that level of control of 5. Quite nice, and your opponent is going to have to throw something big, like a bigger unit or something, to try and take that away from you. But they're probably going to take casualties as they try. So it's quite a nice little holder stratagem for a turn, maybe 2 turns potentially, depending on which objective you take for most of the game. So that's quite a nice one. 1 CP isn't too bad. Moment of Glory is another epic deed stratagem for 1 CP. When fight phase just before an Imperial Knights Titanic unit from your army consolidate. Target that Imperial Knights Titanic unit. Effect until the end of the phase. Each time your unit consolidates, models in it can move an additional 3 inches provided your unit can end that move within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. So you get a 6-inch consolidation as long as you're going into an enemy unit, 2, 3, however many you want. Generally quite nice. There'll be a use for it. 1 CP again isn't too bad. And finally, Unstoppable Warrior, another epic deed stratagem, this one for 2 CP. When your movement phase just after an Imperial Knights Titanic unit from your army falls back. Okay. Target that Imperial Knights Titanic unit. Effect until the end of the turn, your unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it fell back. So none of those actually let you surge. So Unstoppable Warrior letting you surge through their lines. It's not that at all. It means you can fall back and still shoot and declare a charge, which is nice. It's expensive, but it isn't pushing through a unit. It's running away from a unit, basically. Why are WarCom so haphazard with their wording for some of these previews? It's really annoying, isn't it? So that stratagem isn't how I read it from what they say. We've just gone through it there. It's a fallback, but you can still shoot and charge, which is pretty nice for knights, I'll be honest, but it's not pushing through enemy lines, which would have been really cool. Not all knights are impervious questorers, however, and some are content to tenaciously defend their sovereign territory like true guardians of the weak and vulnerable. These dauntless defenders, mustered as the Gate Warden Lance Detachment, draw a literal line in the sand and stand firm in their foundations, blasting anyone who comes near with a hellacious hail of firepower. So this detachment rule, Dauntless Defenders. At the start of the first battle round, select 2 objective markers on the battlefield to be your foundations. When you draw a line from any part of one of your foundations to the other, if any part of a model's base or any part of a model's hull, or models without a base, crosses that line, that model's unit is said to be on your defensive line. When an Imperial Knights unit from your army is on your defensive line, that unit has the following ability. Against the Horde. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets a visible enemy unit, you can ignore any or all modifiers to the hit roll, and weapons equipped by models in this unit have the Sustained Hits 1 ability. Each time one of your foundations is removed from the battlefield, e.g. by a primary mission rule, just after it is removed, select a new objective marker on the battlefield to be one of your foundations. Okay, interesting choice. Basically it's a you shall not pass, and you get Sustained Hits 1, and you ignore modifiers to hit rolls. Decent buffs. That line is going to be getting quite skewed if objective markers are disappearing. It doesn't specify which objective markers you have to choose, but you also only get that buff if you are on part of that line. So my initial thought was, how thick is that line? Is it an objective marker wide line? It must work out as being an objective sized line because it's any part of the objectives. Yeah, I think that's going to cause some problems, but I get the idea. I quite like the idea. I'm not entirely sure it's quite as good as the other one, the first one that we looked at, but I think that's going to take a bit of getting your head around, but could potentially be quite nice. 3 of their 4 attachments kick in when your knights stand on this defensive line, with Acquisitor at Arms pumping up their Attendant's Armigers control score characteristic. The other 2 improve your close combat and ranged attacks respectively. But our personal favourite is Vengeful Tread, because slamming a knight into an enemy for a pile of mortal wounds is always the correct course of action. So we only have 2 here. We have First Enhancement, Acquisitor at Arms, Imperial Knights model only. While the bearer is on your defensive line and there are no enemy units on your defensive line, add the bearer's objective control characteristic to that of each model affected by the bearer's bondsman ability. Bondsman must be a certain knight rule then. Or the bigger knights have bondsman for the small, like the war dogs and things. Don't fully get that one because I don't quite know what bondsman is, but adding your OC to lesser units could be good. You've got to be on that defensive line though. The other one, Vengeful Tread, Imperial Knights model only once per turn. you can target the bearer with the tank shock stratagem for 0 CP. Free tank shock? That's not terrible at all, is it? In fact, that's quite terrifying. As you might expect, the stratagems let you weather attacks and boot out interlopers like a champ, with Lance Breaker blunting all the big guns that just happen to materialize whenever an Imperial Knights army is knocking about. If anyone does manage to make it up close, a 1-2 punch of Drive Them Out and Titanic Bombardment ensures you'll paint your defensive line a fetching shade of crimson. We'll look at the star before we look at those. Put it on a Night Crusader with an Avenger Gatling Cannon and a Rapid Fire Battle Cannon to start chucking orc levels of dice. That doesn't sound good. So, Lance Breaker, strategic ploy stratagem for 1 CP. When fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, target 1 Imperial Knights unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks and is on your defensive line. This whole detachment is going to be about holding that defensive line, isn't it? Effect, until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit, if the strength characteristic of that attack is greater than the toughness characteristic of your unit, subtract 1 to the wound roll. We're seeing this type of rule quite a lot. It's built into the Space Wolf Terminators. There might be some other Terminators that have it. But this is a rule that's been popping up for the last 4 or 5 months, I think, in quite a few 40k detachments. Even the Grotmas stuff actually might have had elements of this. I'm not surprised that they have this. The restriction here is you need to be on your defensive line, so draw that line and just hug it as hard as you can with every unit you've got, I think is how this plays. We then have Drive Them Out, a battle tactic stratagem, again for 1 CP, when your shoot phase or fight phase. Target 1 Imperial Knights unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. Effect, until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit on your defensive line, an unmodified hit roll of 5 up scores a critical hit. It's not terrible. Again, very situational because you need enemy units on your defensive line, and if you're trying to hold that defensive line, you're probably going to use that in the fight phase. My whole issue with this Gate Warden Lance detachment is how you're going to play it. So you draw this line and you've got terrain, L-shaped ruins, of course, because that's how the game's played, apparently. But you've got fairly decently sized, quite static big buildings that are blocking where you can position your knights and things. And you've got these little spaces that you're trying to I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work. I still think that knights can move into ruins and things, can't they? You'll have to correct me if that's wrong in the comments below. Like I say, I'm not up on knights. I think that this one's going to be quite tricky to get right and get these benefits because everything seems to be so focused on you or an enemy being on your defensive line. Final stratagem that we've got teased here, Titanic Bombardment, is a battle tactic stratagem for 1 CP. When your shooting phase, target 1 Imperial Knights Titanic unit from your army that remains stationary this turn, that is on your defensive line and that has not been selected to shoot this phase. It's got to be stationary and on your defensive line. Effect, until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the Sustained Hits 2 ability. Sustained Hits 2 is nice for 1 CP, it's not terrible, but your stipulations there, you're stationary and you're on your defensive line, depending on where your defensive line falls. Yeah, I don't know, I'm not loving this detachment from how I would want to play. If you want to hold the line, I mean this detachment is holding the line. If that's how you want to play, or if that's already how you play your knights, this could be some quite nice boons to help you boost how you're playing. I'm not sold personally, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a good detachment. But from what we're seeing in the previews, it's not selling me on it. Beyond these, you'll also have the Valor Strike Lance detachment, which borrows a lot of the old Noble Lance, but swaps out the army-wide Feel No Pain that all of your opponents loved for advance rerolls and the assault rule on guns when advancing. So you lose a Feel No Pain for your army. Army-wide Feel No Pain is quite nice. That's quite a nerf. Sorry, change. Reroll advances, assault on advancing, or assault on ranged weapons when advancing. It's not terrible, but it's certainly not an army-wide Feel No Pain, is it? Armiger fans can instead field the battle with Noble Squires in the Spearhead at Arms detachment, giving the diminutive knights battle line and letting your bondsman abilities affect up to 3 models instead of just 1. So bondsman links in a big stompy with a little stompy. It is like having a squire. Okay. Interesting. It would be nice if these articles gave us a bit more on these, but hey, that's not how this works, is it? We'll be back soon with a look at how your Imperial Knights will be doing in Crusade campaigns. Definitely looking forward to seeing the Crusade stuff. I love the Crusade stuff, which involves a very cool stratagem where your pilots improve over time and can move into different knights independently of their datasheet. That actually, like, in army progression, character progression, that's really cool. Promoting a armiger into a big stompy. Narratively, that sounds amazing. Codex Imperial Knights is up for pre-order this weekend. I expect there's a few people who've been waiting for this one. And while it isn't for me, hopefully there's enough in here. The previews have whet your appetite a bit and you're looking forward to this. Fingers crossed it's not overpowered just from a balance point of view, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if Imperial Knights were actually good at some point in this edition. I joke, I know they've had their moment in the sun, but it is nice when an army gets a new book and some new rules and they can actually be, you know, competitive for a while. Fingers crossed. There's nothing in here that sounds truly horrendous. Losing that army-wide Feel No Pain from, I'm guessing, was one of the earlier indexes, it might be something that's already been lost. But losing that is a bit of a blow for gaining rerolling advances and assault. It's not a great swap out, but that said, we don't actually get a good overview on these, we just get what they want to show us, and yeah. Heroes of Legend sounds fun. It sounds like you're going to be able to do some interesting things with your oaths, and obviously the deed and the quality of it is going to play into that a little bit. Dauntless Defenders, yeah, not sure. The Gate Warden Lance detachment, it depends what else there is. The other stratagems and things, the other enhancements could really shine in this detachment. It isn't how I would play, but then I have Space Wolves for a reason, right? I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. Knights players, let me know what you think and let me know if there's any concerns or what you're really looking forward to in this codex in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.